to put their flag in terms of having a stake, shaping events. So, whether we like it or not, the enhanced interaction, I avoid using the word competition, because the interaction can be both competition and cooperation. The enhanced interaction amongst the major powers will increase. The trend is, the trajectory is upward, because there are growing interests for everyone in this region. The challenge for ASEAN and the ASEAN community, as we celebrate our 50th anniversary next year, and a little bit of PR looking forward to Thailand's chairmanship of ASEAN in 2019, the challenge for the ASEAN community is how best to manage this upward trajectory of enhanced interaction amongst the major powers against the backdrop of global trends, economic, environmental, political, that will impact on the Asia-Pacific and Southeast Asia. That's the challenge. Now, fortunately, because of the great contributions by our previous generations throughout the past 49 years, we have built what I would call to be both invisible and visible architectures to help manage relations in the broader Asia-Pacific region. Now, what do I mean, invisible? Well, that's the easy one first. The visible ones are the ones that we could see. And that is all the platforms we have created, the ASEAN Plus platforms, ASEAN China, ASEAN Japan, ASEAN US relationship. We have 10 dialogue partners. We now have, if I count correctly, 7 strategic partners now, all reflecting an interest of the major powers to engage with ASEAN in our region. We have other platforms. We have the ASEAN Regional Forum created in 1994, the only forum in the region that brings all the major powers to discuss security issues. And under Thailand's chairmanship in 2000, brought in the DPRK, the only forum in the Asia-Pacific that involves the DPRK. We have a more recent development, of course, the East Asia Summit, the only strategic forum at the leaders level in our region that deals with security issues, in addition to other important strategic global issues. In essence, almost like the counterpart to the APEC for the more economic issues. And an even more recent arrangement is the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, 18 countries trying to develop defense diplomacy, build trust and confidence amongst the defense agencies, and find practical cooperation ways on issues ranging from counterterrorism to disaster management. So these are the visible platforms. And they certainly have been crucial for ASEAN to exercise its most important asset, and that is its power of convening. ASEAN has the power and the attraction to convene meetings and to bring in the major powers to the table, because we are more or less seen as a neutral body that can do so. What about the invisibles? Well, these are the various norms, codes of conduct that we have created and by and large accepted by the major powers in the region. Non-intervention in domestic affairs is one, peaceful settlement of disputes, and a genuine commitment to work towards shared regional goals. We have the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia, signed in 1976, but has expanded to include high contracting parties from different regions. It's still the only treaty in the region that involves all the P5, permanent members of the Security Council, showing a commitment to the rules, to the norms that provide an environment of peace and stability in this region. because that is very fundamental if we want the economic dynamism to continue. We have the various understandings and trust and confidence generated when major powers meet with ASEAN in these platforms. These are the invisible assets that make this ASEAN-centered regional architecture quite important. An important tool for major powers in ASEAN to engage and promote that greater sense of trust and confidence critical to our region. And it is an important tool, of course, for ASEAN to create the diplomatic space for us to maneuver in these uncertain times. But these achievements are being affected by new developments. Some say threatened, some say challenged. What are some of these developments? Well, first of all, externally, the enhanced interaction amongst the major powers has increased so much that ASEAN is finding it even more difficult to position itself as a neutral player. Because as the major powers look at the situation from more of a zero-sum game rather than a positive-sum game, it is now not sufficient for ASEAN to be neutral, but there is increasing encouragement, to put it softly, pressure, to put it bluntly, for ASEAN to take sides. That is the challenge that ASEAN faces in this emerging zero-sum game atmosphere in our region, based on different factors. ASEAN is finding it more and more difficult to, in a sense, be neutral. And if we do take sides, that becomes a challenge for us in the future. Can we afford to? There's different thinking in ASEAN, but the overall assessment remains to be seen whether ASEAN should take sides or whether we could perhaps focus on specific issues and take sides on those issues rather than siding with specific countries. This is something that ASEAN has to deliberate. But the point I'm making is that the comfort of neutrality, the space for maintaining that comfort level is shrinking for ASEAN. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is internal to ASEAN. ASEAN centrality can only work if there is ASEAN unity. And that unity has been questioned by some in recent years. Of course, ASEAN is not a homogeneous organization and will never be. But it is important for there to be unity on critical issues that face us. Whether it's be to address the challenge of extremism or to address maritime challenges anywhere from the South China Sea to problems in the Malacca Straits and other maritime areas. These are critical issues where a common ASEAN approach would be important. And that is why ASEAN, in the last 10 years, have been trying to evolve a strategy that will enhance this centrality in this evolving regional architecture. And these include several elements, like trying to make sure that what we have created, like the ARF, EAS, ADMM+, are efficient and can address issues, not just forum for dialogue. It involves ASEAN strengthening ourselves from within, building that internal resilience. And we can do so by pushing forward our community building agenda by becoming a stronger, competitive economic community, a stable political security community, and a sharing socio-cultural community, so that each member state feels there is a strong stake in a dynamic, people-centered ASEAN community. And of course, equally important, we need to have a much more coordinated approach in our external relations, especially if they relate to critical challenges facing our region, whether it's transnational, maritime, or a challenge on our values. So, these are, I believe, in my opinion, the challenges that ASEAN must face, not as a global player, but as a player that is engaged on global issues, to try to evolve this regional architecture that is being tested, some say challenged, by new developments, including alternative models of regional architecture proposed by some countries that may or may not be centered on ASEAN centrality. But be that as it may, this process of positioning ASEAN community in a manner that will enhance its diplomatic space, that will allow it to manage in partnership with major powers the major trends in our region, in order to help manage the enhanced interaction amongst the major powers. The regional architecture that ASEAN has created must be strengthened and must be based on partnership, and certainly ASEAN cannot do it alone. These are the challenges before us. As my last vestiges of my voice disappear, I'd just like to wish every one of you a successful discussion. The issues you'll discuss today is something that we will use in track one, rest assured, because there is no choice. ASEAN has to evolve. ASEAN has to strengthen its centrality in the regional architecture. Otherwise, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of ASEAN next year, ASEAN will be less relevant than before, and that is certainly not a good sign for what we try to call to be a global ASEAN. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suriya Jindawong, Deputy Director General of Department of ASEAN Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was very precise and relevant presentation. I'm sure that all of us can relate to each and every word he mentioned. Thank you very much for sharing once again. As a token of our appreciation for his time and his valuable contribution, may I call upon Associate Professor Dr. Pramuan Thepchaisri, Vice Rector for Research, Thammasat University, to kindly present a token of appreciation to the keynote speaker. Please. Thank you very much once again for sharing, Dr. Suriya Jindawong. Now I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Prapat Thepchaisri, or the panelists, moderators, and board members of Center for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University, on stage for a photo opportunity, please. very much, Dr. Suriya Jindawong, Associate Professor Dr. Pramod Tepchaisi, Associate Professor Dr. Prabhat Tepchatri, all the panelists, moderators, and board members of Center for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University. Once again, thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed any further, I would like you to know more about Center for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University in every aspect. And we have prepared a presentation for you. Let's see it together from this presentation.
Ten ASEAN countries will be united as ASEAN Community on 31 December 2015. Established in Bangkok on 8 August 1967, ASEAN consisted of Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Philippines. It later welcomed more members, namely Brunei Darussalam, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. Because of changing political, economic, and social environment, ASEAN is facing new challenges such as terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, environmental issues, natural disaster, and growing economic competition. ASEAN leaders therefore agreed to unite to gain negotiation power and enhance their competitiveness among neighboring regions and in international platform. They therefore established ASEAN Community, comprising three pillars: ASEAN Political Security Community, ASEAN Economic Community, and ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. Recognizing its significance, Thammasat University established the Center for ASEAN Studies in the end of 2011 as the key mechanism to ensure that the country is well prepared. The Centre, under its missions, serves as the training centre, think tank, research centre, learning and information centre on ASEAN studies, as well as centre to build the national and regional network.
ศูนย์อาเซียนศึกษาของมหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์ตั้งขึ้นเมื่อปี 2554 นะครับเราตั้งขึ้นเพื่อวัตถุประสงค์อย่างที่เรารู้กันโดยทั่วไปว่าอาเซียนจะรวมตัวกันเป็นหนึ่งเดียวในปี 2558 ศูนย์อาเซียนก็เป็นหนึ่งศูนย์ของธรรมศาสตร์ที่เราตั้งขึ้นเพื่อวัตถุประสงค์ในการจัดการเรียนการสอนและก็การค้นคว้าการเรียนรู้ต่างๆเกี่ยวเรื่องอาเซียนเป็นหัวใจสำคัญของการเรียนรู้ร่วมกันถ้าศูนย์นี้สามารถสร้างบทบาทในการเป็นศูนย์เรียนรู้ร่วมกันของคนทั้งอาเซียนได้โดยเฉพาะคนไทยซึ่งเราต้องการให้คนไทยรู้จักอาเซียนเพิ่มมากขึ้นนะครับการเรียนรู้ซึ่งกันและกันก็จะทำให้คนไทยนั้นก้าวข้ามวัฒนธรรมของประเทศไทยก้าวข้ามสิ่งที่เป็นไทยแท้ๆไปสู่สิ่งที่เป็นอาเซียนซึ่งจะทำให้การรวมตัวกันของอาเซียนประสบความสำเร็จ
Center for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University, operates under 5 missions. 1. Training is one of the center's missions to educate the public, private, and popular sector and the people so that they are ready for ASEAN Community in 2015. The center provides both in-house and public training, with the appropriate content for the trainees from all sectors and levels so that they can effectively apply the knowledge to the ASEAN-related tasks. 2. Serving as Thailand's and ASEAN's think tank on ASEAN topic is considered the Centre's crucial mission. it holds various activities such as TU ASEAN Forum to educate the participants on ASEAN. The Centre also hosts brainstorming conferences as the platform for public and private sector and the people to share their ideas of how to prepare Thailand for ASEAN community. TU ASEAN International Conference serves as the stage to exchange the ideas about ASEAN and disseminate the knowledge of ASEAN to the international platform. 3. Research. The Centre conducts research for several organisations and cooperates with agencies to grant both domestic and international research scholarship. More importantly, the Centre provides several agencies with consultation so that they can formulate plans and be prepared for the upcoming ASEAN community. 4. Information and Learning Centre. To promote the Centre's mission as ASEAN think tank at national, regional and global level, the Centre produces printed materials with content derived from seminars, brainstorm meeting, research and academic work. The Centre established www.castu.org, open for the public as the source of information and learning about ASEAN. The website provides downloadable basic information on ASEAN and in-depth analysis, including documents and reports conducted by the Centre. In addition, the website regularly disseminates press releases analysing the current major situations in ASEAN and other regions, which directly and indirectly affect ASEAN. 5. The last mission is to build domestic and intra-regional network. The Centre contacts other ASEAN centres, research institutes and ASEAN think tank and do the networking among 10 ASEAN countries by establishing Network of ASEAN Studies. Domestically, the Centre builds the network of ASEAN studies in 4 regions: Central, Northeast, North and South.
When ASEAN was founded in 1967, one of the aspirations of the founding fathers of ASEAN, including Kun Thanath Thawornkoman, was to enhance bargaining power for the countries in the region, Thailand included, in our interaction with the rest of the world. Now that we have come this far, it's a long journey, 46, 47 years old. I think the world has changed, but the mission is still there. Will Thailand be able to use this platform called ASEAN as a bargaining power to deal with the rest of the world, to attract investment from outside, to help us achieve our objectives in the international arena, whether it's at the UN or at other regional forums? That's depend on the Thai people. And I think the Centre at Thammasat for ASEAN Studies certainly is spearheading that effort to enhance, to increase the awareness of the Thai people and every agency of the Thai government and every other educational institution, that from now on a lot of problems inside Thailand are originated from outside and have to be resolved and managed in cooperation with our neighbors, with our friends from the region and around the region. So our ability to interact with them, our capacity to work with them, to contribute to that regional effort will have to be enhanced. And this is a challenge for Thailand.
Today, Centre for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University, is ready to be the key mechanism to drive the public and private sector and the people to enter ASEAN community in the years to come.
Thank you very much. I am sure that we all know more about Center for ASEAN Studies, Thammasat University, the host for today's conference. And now we are ready to bring all of us to the panel discussion under the topic of major powers and the evolving regional security architecture. I would like to introduce all the three panelists to you. The first one, please give a big round of applause to Ambassador Tan Sri Rastam Mohammad Isa, Chief Executive, Institute of Strategic and International Studies, or ISIS, Malaysia. Second one, Professor Chen Hansi, Deputy Secretary General, Guangdong Institute for International Strategies, China. The third one, Professor Dr. Surashai Sirikrai, Faculty of Political Science, Thammasat University, Thailand. And our moderator for this session is Associate Professor Dr. Chaichana Inkawat, Faculty of Political Science, Ramkhamhaeng University, Thailand. May I please invite all the panelists and the moderator on stage, please. Over the stage to Associate Professor Dr. Chaichana Inkawat. Please, sir, all the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and we will begin our first session. So, according to time, I think it's not exactly like indicated in the schedule. So anyway, I put it this way. Each of the panelists will give a talk about 20 minutes, something around that. Okay, and after that, if you have something to cover, so we have about 10 minutes. And anyway, we cannot forget the floor. So floor will be open later on. So we try to make this session kinds of informal talk, and anything that you have in mind, just write down, and you can stand up and ask all of the panelists, according to the session. So I begin with according to the name. Can I begin with the China representative first? Mr. Chen Hansi, and I don't have to introduce anything because the Master of Ceremony did it. So if you're ready, you go ahead first. Yes, right. I'm sorry. I'll make it this way. This is information that I have got lately. Just about 10 minutes at the first round, okay?
I speak 10 minutes.
Okay. Like I said, it's an informal talk, so director of the program saying that 15, so it's going to be 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Professor Chaichana. Thank you for your moderating. Thank you, Professor Prapat. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm very honored to be here. This is my first time in Thailand. This is a very great conference. I'm going to talk about the China and the U.S. relations. I just listened to Mr. Kim Da-won. I admire your speech, if you are still here with us. I agree with you in many respects.